Hi, I'm Joe Hyde. I'm with San Angelo Live. Here with Wacey Alpha Cody,
Yes, sir.
your Libertarian candidate
Yes,
for
sir.
Congressional District 11.
Yes, sir.
Now, you ran as a Republican before. What did you learn about the Republican Party?
So, growing up in Texas, I thought conservatism and Republican were synonyms. And the more I learned about the political system, the more I realized that's not true. When I think of conservatism, I think of freedom, I think of liberty, I think of being able to live my life the way I see fit and not having to pay anybody and not having anybody pay for it. And that's not the Republican Party, that's the Libertarian Party. So it wasn't so much me leaving the Republican Party, it's just me learning more and more about what each party kind of represented, where and what party truly put forth this idea of I don't care who you are or what you do in life, just don't ask me to pay for it.
So, some of the Republican policies recently, particularly that Congress has voted on, for example, the CARES Act, where they gave $1,200 to everybody. So you wouldn't consider that a conservative principle, I guess.
I would consider that a very socialistic principle.
Okay. And what about like with the PPP loans and things like that? When the government chooses or the government forces your business to shut down, do you think the government should be obligated to reimburse that business for being shut down?
I don't think the government should ever have the authority to shut down a business.
Okay.
But I get where you're going, but fundamentally, I start with that's a flawed system. But to answer your question, anytime you take from one sector and give it to another sector and it's centrally governmental controlled, if that is not communism, what is the word for it?
Right. So you're more for if the COVID happened, the COVID.
Well, it did. I mean, it is happening.
If it happened when you were in Congress, how would you have voted on the CARES Act?
No,
You would have voted no.
absolutely.
Now, but what about your constituents? You know, all these towns, we're 29 counties here, and some of these businesses are getting pummeled, destroyed.
Because of government interference to start with.
Right.
I mean, they didn't shut their doors because they wanted to, did
Right.
they?
No, they didn't.
They shut the doors because government told them to.
Right.
So then the government shuts your doors and then the government wants to take credit for saving you? That's like somebody hitting you in the mouth and then saying, you're welcome. That makes no sense. And if we roll back to where, if you're a successful business owner and you're doing good, you're marketing, that's on you. If you fail, go work for somebody that is a successful business owner. But the government should not be in the practice of policing its citizens to the degree it gets to cherry pick which industry is essential and which industry is not. Because everybody that had to figure out how they were going to pay for their bread during all this, their paycheck was essential. I don't care what their job was. And government is what shut them down.
All right, so President Trump came out with a couple of executive orders on August 8th. And one of them that's affecting, like for San Angelo, and I'm sure a lot of the other communities in this district, is his executive order that bans eviction if you're not paying the rent. What do you think of that? I mean, it's a Trump policy.
Well, I'm just taking your word for it because
Yeah.
I don't know. But so through rodeo, I traveled a lot of places. I know in the northern states, you're not allowed to evict people during winter because of danger to that person. I mean, you kick somebody out in Minnesota during the winter, they're going to freeze to death. If the basis behind that law, I guess, is a similar idea
It is.
that if you evict somebody during this time, they have no
gonna
way
catch
to
the COVID.
Yeah, you have no way to survive. I guess it's the same as the idea behind the laws in northern states that you're not allowed to evict people. But again, from a fundamental standpoint, why is the federal government stepping in on a deal between, like if I lease a house from you, why is the federal government stepping in between our deal? When I fundamentally believe the government is overblown and oversized and waste tax dollars and all of this stuff, I can't then say, federal government, please save me.
Right.
you kind of got to live and die by the mentality that the federal government is wrong for being this bloated. And if you believe that way, you let the chips fall as they may.
All right, so a lot of your libertarian leanings, or your laissez-faire economic leanings, probably emerged when you were working the rodeo circuit, and you were in the Bronx, right? Saddle Bronx.
Bareback and Saddle Bronx, yes. Right? I'm sorry, I don't want to answer your question.
Oh no, you can go ahead and talk about it. I mean, when did you start? When did you start riding horses in the rodeo circuit?
My Christmas break when I turned 16.
And what year was that?
Oh shoot!
I'm gonna make him sound like really old now.
Okay, I graduated 05. So Christmas 2003 was the first bucking horse I ever got on. Not
And
Christmas Day, but Christmas.
do you watch like Netflix and streaming media?
No, sir, not currently.
So you've never seen Yellowstone?
I know of the show. I get picked on at work because I don't watch it, but.
But anyway, in Yellowstone, the way they got one of the ranch hands to learn how to ride a bucking horse, was you put him on bareback and they duct taped him to the horse. Well, he was on the saddle bronc. They duct taped him to the saddle.
Okay.
Is that how you learned? Did they duct tape you to the saddle?
No, but also kind of a fundamental flaw there is if you're duct taped to the saddle, you're not learning anything. You can't, I mean, to learn how to ride a horse, you have to, through your talents, you have to be actively riding it, not just incapable of falling off.
Right.
But I mean, the way I learned was my dad, to my knowledge, I was just a little kid. My dad said, put me on we had a Shetland horse at the time. He set me on it. He said, this is how you stop, this is how you go, this is how you turn. And that was lesson over. And just since that day, just learned through riding horses. And then when I got to rodeo, it was a pretty, these are the basics you need to do to stay on this horse. And after that, just gas it and do the best you can.
Was there ever a rodeo or time where you were afraid that you were going to get hurt, or have you been hurt?
I've been lucky. I've never been serious. I guess what I call seriously injured. I mean, I've got a hoof print around my right eye from where I got hung up and drugged and stepped on. I have tons of bumps and bruises along the way, but I know a lot of people a whole lot less fortunate than me that didn't ever walk or leave an arena under their own power, and that's kind of where they ended life. And so fortunately I've been a lot luckier than that. But I think back to your question about being scared of getting hurt, I was always raised and taught any day of the week could be your time. Mm-hmm. I mean, get hit by a city bus in San Angelo, Texas. So you might as well do what you enjoy.
They don't have very many city buses in San Angelo, Texas.
Well, true,
Transit.
but the point is, whatever is going to take you, it's going to take you whether you like it or not. So you might as well live life to the fullest and enjoy whatever you're doing in the moment the most you can. And when I was in my teens and 20s, there was nothing funner or more fun than taking my dog, getting in my camper, and going to rodeos. And if I made money, I made money, and I was always successful enough to have enough money to get more gas in my tank, more food for my dog, and more entry fees.
So just like the old country songs, just enough to get to the next show.
As long as I had that, I was good.
Right. All right, so we've covered a lot of rodeo here at San Angelo Live.
Yes, sir.
And one of the things that really stands out to me, and this goes back to politics, all right?
Okay.
Is a lot of these rodeo cowboys, they refuse medical service. They might get thrown off the horse, they refuse medical service. And the reason is because of the cost. If they end up getting emergency transported to the hospital, and then they maybe get checked into the ER or into a hospital bed for a night, that's a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And so, coming back to what the Democrats have said about health care, they said, well, we need to have free health care for everyone so that the gig economy, which is basically what rodeoing is, it's a gig economy. Mm-hmm. So these guys are doing the gig economy, these artists can have their health care because the government's going to give it to them for free. So what do you think about how would you handle if you've been there?
Yeah.
What if a rodeo performer got really hurt? And how would he pay for the health insurance? Because I'm sure a lot of them don't have health insurance.
Well, I guess there's kind of a couple different things. One is there's nothing in life free. Somebody's paying for that somewhere along the way. And fundamentally, if the government's taken from somebody to give me something, going back to that, if it's not communism, what is it? But to the point about how do they have health care, I think that instead of saying let's give everybody health care, or difference, let's give everybody health insurance, because those are two different concepts, health care
Right.
and health insurance. You can have affordable health insurance and your health care suck, or you could have affordable health care and your health insurance premiums skyrocket.
Right.
You look at what is the motivating factors for the inflation and the prices of those services. Because again, we need to revert back to supply and demand and capitalism and less communism. Because free health care, when the government provides it, is a communistic concept. If we go back to free enterprise, competitive workplace, and supply and demand, costs will start to go down. Ways you can do that is across every industry. To me, corporate income taxes are a burden on our society, because who pays corporate income tax? The consumer does. Whether you're buying a brand new pickup, a new TV, or health insurance, the corporation never pays the taxes. They pass that on to the consumer, because if their company's in the red, they go bankrupt and then they can't afford it, right? So you do away with that. Then you get everyone to have 10%. Starting, I would like for it to get to be a usury tax or like sales tax, but starting off 10% flat tax. I don't care if you make $1 billion or $100, the government gets a dime, you keep 90 cents. That's not the end goal, but that is a starting point. And then you slash and gut government. And all of those employees that are currently on our payroll are now in the private sector, helping generate income and strengthen the economy. And finally, a thing to me that ties across all sectors is the way in our, for the lack of a better term, sue-happy world, everybody wants to have a lawsuit. Everybody wants something for free. So if loser paid, you would start reducing liability insurance premiums on all corporations. I mean, myself as a rancher, I have liability insurance in case somebody runs through my fence, then my cow gets out, somebody hits that cow and the person in the automobile dies. I have to have liability insurance to cover that scenario. So my insurance premiums go down, my cost as a business start to go down, so I can provide you with a quality good that is you give me $1, I give you $1 worth of product, instead of you giving me $1 and I giving you a dime worth of product, because the rest of it goes to bureaucracy. To me, those are three simple fixes that would address countless issues across the board and address what you just said with never having to have government create revenue to give to somebody.
All right, so starting on November 3rd is when we're voting, right?
Yes, sir.
And
Hopefully
and
that's when we're voting.
On the ballot, you're there with an L next to it.
Yes, sir.
And that stands for Libertarian.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Libertarian.
Thank you for coming on today.
Yes, sir. Thank you.